What's up everyone, Adam here, and Platinum Games has truly outdone themselves. Astral Chain is everything you could possibly want from an action-adventure game. Intense combat, lots of areas to explore, diverse enemies, incredible boss fights, and a soundtrack that brings everything together. Even during the more tedious missions, Astral Chain continues its strong momentum, leading up to a breathtaking conclusion where skill in fortitude is tested. Simply put, Astral Chain is one of the best games this year, and another reason to purchase a Nintendo Switch if you haven't yet. Astral Chain takes place in 2078 with humanity on the brink of extinction. A race of interdimensional creatures called the Chimera have driven the last of humanity to an artificial island called the Ark. However, the Chimera still invade through gates and either kill the humans there or drag them into the astral plane to spread the substance called red matter that corrupts living beings. To combat this, a specialized section of the police called Neuron was created. Using captured Chimera called Legions, a select few of specialists used the Legions to fight against the Chimera in both the Ark and the Astral Plane. This is where you come in. You're the protagonist, a customized character that joins Neuron along with your twin sister to fight against the Chimera. Things slowly escalate, and eventually you become the last hope for humanity. The story does have its share of predictable moments, but the pacing, voice acting, and character personas help breathe life into the narrative. While much of your fellow Neuron agents take a back seat, only rising when the situation calls for it, the performance of your twin sister Akria is what sells the narrative. At first she seems like a carbon copy, jealous sister, but eventually she showcased much more depth, as her life is constantly trampled on by others and she must find purpose over and over again through her own means. It also helps that the cutscenes are beautifully choreographed and animated. The action sequence in particular feature visuals that I didn't think the Nintendo Switch could produce without slowing down. The story does gradually increase the stakes, with you starting off as a traditional agent fighting Chimera, solving crimes, and performing police busy work, but it all ends with a massive bang that makes the entire 10-hour journey worth every second. Astral Chain has a variety of gameplay features, but the main focus is combat. Players have access to 3 weapons and several legions that you gain over the course of the adventure. While the weapons cannot be altered or you can gain access to new weapons, they can be upgraded using materials. You get your standard light and heavy weapon along with a long-range pistol. While these weapons are more than enough to battle the Chimera, it's in combination with your legion that combat begins to soar and take on much more complicated mechanics. Each legion has its own strength, weaknesses, skill trees, and unique abilities. You're expected to combine these various talents in combat to maximize damage and avoid being hit. The protagonist is a glass cannon and cannot take a lot of damage. The controls can become much more complicated during the endgame, seeing that you'll have to control and learn which types of legions are best effective in certain combat situations. Legions can be upgraded using resources that you gather from Chimera and completed missions. The skill tree adds more options to your legion along with a modding system that adds extra benefits. The legion is necessary for survival, but you cannot abuse the creature since there are limitations to this great power. Legions, for example, cannot remain active for long and can only travel as far as your chain go. The chain serves as a tether that binds your legion and can be a helpful tool in combat, the most basic function being the ability to bind enemies and hold them for a finite amount of time. In addition, legions have a time limit that reduces based on time active, special abilities used, and damage taken. Once expired, you cannot summon a legion until the meter refills. This makes micromanaging that meter paramount because without a legion, you're incredibly vulnerable to attacks. You can evade and counterattack, which are powerful tools in order to maintain your survivability, but unlike Nier Automata, which is another game from Platinum Games, the window for executing a perfect dodge to gain the ability to counterattack is much smaller. You're going to need every advantage as the enemy diversity is staggering. While most share the same edifice, Platinum Games has filled Astral Chain with challenging enemies to defeat. The key is to hurt them enough so you can physically take the Chimera's essence in a flashy takedown move, maximizing your yield and using those same resources to upgrade your own legions. No matter how many times I did this, it never got old. The bosses are on a whole nother level. I easily mistook some of these bosses as final bosses. It's hard not to discuss them without spoilers, but I can say I was floored right into the end of the credits. Astral Chain has some of the best bosses this generation. Outside from combat, you'll be exploring the environment. Legions also play a critical role here as they serve as tools for solving puzzles, moving across obstacles and interacting with specific items. These Legion-specific puzzles highlight the strengths of the creatures, such as the Armed Legion move in large boxes, or the Sword Legion slice in weak points like Raiden from Metal Gear Rising. The protagonist isn't a cop for just show. You have to occasionally play detective, finding evidence and figuring out what happened. It's basic and doesn't compare to LA Noire's more complicated system, but it does complement the setting, with you also taking part in tasks such as helping a child get new ice cream. Some of these side objectives do break up the action, although they're not ideal, such as transporting boxes or using your Legion to move traffic after a major destructive event. But the most annoying section in Astral Chain are the sneak-in sections. Sometimes you'll need to sneak past guards. As you can expect, the controls and mobility system isn't ideal for such a task. The game is lenient when these missions come up, pushing you to the beginning if caught or choosing to push through. The same assistance is provided when choosing specific pieces of evidence to construct what happened. If you choose the wrong answer, the game auto-corrects you. However, your performance is tracked and you're given rewards determined by how well you perform. Resources and money are used for helpful items outside from skill-based enhancements. The game does offer extra bonuses in the way of chests hidden throughout the environment, since you cannot purchase the more important healing items outside from the police HQ. And since health does not recover after each battle, you'll need to take advantage of whatever healing methods you can. Astral Chain looks incredible. Both the Arc and the Astral Plane are decorated in specific patterns and colorations that make them contrast one another. Whereas the Arc is teeming with bright lights and life, the Astral Plane looks like a cybernetic hell where everything wants to kill you. Everything is so bright, colorful, and visually appealing. It's hard to find something to dislike from a visual standpoint, but I guess the only minor issue I would have is the character models for the human characters, with the exception of the unique character models like Olive, who serves as your contact at the police HQ. Everyone borrows from the same pool of creative items to the point that you start recognizing everything. That's not a bad thing, it's just something that you will notice. Just like the visuals, Astral Chain's sound design is outstanding. The soundtrack is simply amazing and it complements every action that you're taking, whether it's exploring the environment or in deep combat, with a specific musical score that differs based on whether you chose to play as a male or female. The only minor issue again would be the lip syncing and facial expressions, but considering how elaborate some of these games' cutscenes are, lip syncing is probably the last thing you'll think about when watching most of these cutscenes. Astral Chain is a fantastic game. It's exactly like playing through an action-packed anime, complete with outrageous battles against godlike beings and violently beautiful cutscenes. Sometimes you'll need to slow down to perform busy work, but these help build up anticipation for the next heated battle. Even after completing the 10-hour campaign, you can go back and try the game on the harder difficulties or take on additional harder cases after the game's credits roll. Astral Chain is easily one of the best games of this year, and if you own a Nintendo Switch or have yet to purchase one, this is a game that you should have in your library.